in November?
I think we will have a very spirited...
I think we both have our hands full.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Senator McCain?
No, I'd just say I think we'll have very respectful but very spirited debate. I think that Senator Clinton would be the first to acknowledge, as she's already mentioned in several appearances in debates with the Democrats, that we'll have very significant differences, and I think the American people will see those differences and make a judgment.
Senator Clinton, we're going to talk to you in a moment, but do you have a response to that?
No, I agree with that. I think that you know, John and I will have a respectful debate, but we do have serious differences about the direction of the country and what we think should be done. But that's exactly the kind of election that our country needs right now, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we'll get to you in a second after the break, Senator Clinton, but Senator McCain, it's your time. Let me ask you...
want to start that debate now? Should we...
I'm ready if you're ready.
Well, it is the case that the economy is becoming a greater and greater concern because obviously it's not working for the vast majority of Americans. I've been out there since March talking about this mortgage crisis and urging much more aggressive action to stem the foreclosures that are beginning to cascade around the country. That's why I've called for a moratorium of 90 days to try to stop foreclosures and help people work out being able to stay in their homes, and freezing interest rates for 5 years, looking for ways to try to get the housing market stabilized, because I think that we have had the monetary side. The Fed has reduced interest. They may do some more. We don't know. But at some point, you've got to have government action to really tackle these problems. And the stimulus package is a start, but it's not nearly enough. What we have to do is have an economic policy that once again creates jobs with rising incomes. We need to look at clean, green energy. We need to have a much greater balance in our federal government spending. Obviously, I disagree with Senator McCain and the Republicans about the tax cuts for people making more than $250,000 a year. I think we should let those expire and use that money on universal health care and other needs that people have that are really directly related to the state of the economy.
Let's talk about the other big issue that the two of you have identified as a difference. That, of course, is the war in Iraq. At a recent debate, you had an interesting exchange about the war. Let's take a look at that, Senator.
In light of the new military and political progress on the ground there in Iraq, are you looking to end this war or win it?
I'm looking to bring our troops home, starting within 60 days of my becoming president.
Senator, you started calling for pulling U.S. troops out of Iraq in November of 2005. If we had followed your policy, wouldn't al-Qaeda by now be able to say that they had driven the U.S. out of Iraq?
You know, Chris, I think we have to look at this in the context in which it's taking place. The so-called surge was designed to give the Iraqi government the space and time to make the tough decisions that only the Iraqis can make for themselves. It's my assessment that only now is the Iraqi government starting to grapple with problems that many of us have been pushing them to resolve for 5 years. And the problem is that they have up until now believed that they didn't really have to take any tough action, that President Bush had given them basically a blank check, that the American military would be there to protect them and protect other parts of the country. And I think that putting forward a very clear objective of beginning to withdraw our troops is the best way to get the Iraqis to take responsibility. So I think that it's clear there is no military solution. We can stay for a day, a month, a year, 10 or 100 years, as Senator McCain has said would be fine with him. But I don't think that's the answer. I think we've got to bring our troops home and really require and put the pressure on the Iraqis to make the tough decisions that they have to make.
Well, let me follow up on that if I can. Last September, when General Petraeus testified before Congress about the surge working, here was your reaction. Let's take a look.
I think that the reports that you provide to us really require the willing suspension of disbelief.
Senator, since then, the violence is clearly dropping, has continued to drop. The Baghdad is sharing oil revenue with the provinces. They have passed a law to allow at least some Sunnis back into the government. Clearly, there are a lot of problems, but why are you so determined to declare defeat?
Well, that's not at all what I'm doing. I think there's a difference between tactical success on the ground, and I've been, very positive about what our young men and women in uniform can accomplish, especially if we put them in sufficient numbers, and strategic success. And I think you're overstating what is happening in Iraq. There is a lot of problems getting money from the central government into the Sunni areas. The oil bill hasn't been resolved yet. De-Baathification is tied up in their parliament because there is such a reaction to it by so many of the Shiite factions. This is obviously a fractious and often contentious government. And I think we would not even see the small signs of progress unless they knew that there was an election going on in the United States, and one of the biggest issues was whether we would stay for up to 100 years or whether we would start bringing our troops home. I personally believe there is no American military solution, and it is imperative that we focus our attention on the political and diplomatic side of this equation. So beginning to withdraw our troops is not only the right thing to do for our troops, but it is also the right political strategy for us to pursue.
Let's turn to the issue immediately at hand, and you got an election, or a series of elections in a couple of days, Senator. None of the contests, Democratic contests on Super Tuesday are winner-take-all. So the result is that in most states, both you and Senator Obama are going to win a lot of delegates. Doesn't that mean that this contest is going to go on for some period of time, even months after Super Tuesday?
Well, we'll see after Tuesday, Chris, but you're right that the rules in our party really are much more challenging. This whole Super Tuesday national primary is something nobody's ever gone through before. We're kind of making it up as we go. So it's hard to sit here and predict what will happen on Tuesday or what happens the next day. But I'm very excited and encouraged by the response I'm getting across the country. I've had huge crowds. I've had a lot of people coming forward to support me. There seems to be a lot of great activity going on the ground in all of these states. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday. But obviously, this is a very contested race for the Democratic nomination. And as I've said many times in the last few days, I think for the country, looking at the debate the other night, seeing the two of us there was such a thrill. Because we have lived the progress that has been made in America. Each of us has broken barriers. So whoever wins the nomination will change American history. The question is, who has the strength and experience to change America for the better, to put us on the right path? And I'm going to keep making that case as many times as I can between now and Tuesday.
Senator, let me ask you about the horse race, though. Most of the national polls indicate you're still leading, but that Obama has closed the gap, has reduced your margin by a significant amount in the last couple of weeks. How do you explain that?
Oh, this is always going to be a close election, Chris. We have two people left. Both of us have passionate supporters. I think it's exciting. We're out here making our case. Obviously, I think I have the better case to go up against the Republican nominee, particularly if it is Senator McCain. But I believe this has revitalized the Democratic Party. Each of us is bringing hundreds of thousands of new people into politics. We've had 6 contests. I've won 4 of them. We're in a very good position. But we don't count the votes until Tuesday. And I think all of us have learned that these polls are maybe snapshots in a very limited period of time. So what's most important is who decides to vote. And I hope a lot of people watching will turn out and do exactly that.
Senator, the high profile your husband has had on the campaign trail has raised, as you no doubt know, new questions about the issue of a co-presidency. Have you thought, if you were to win, how you would set up the White House to make it clear who was the boss?
Oh, I don't think there'll be any doubt about that, Chris. Just as there wasn't any doubt that he was the president and the commander-in-chief, and all of us, including everyone in the White House, and that was me as well, were there to support his efforts. That's what it will be when I'm in the White House. I will be the decision maker. Obviously, I'm going to seek advice from a wide range of people who have expertise and experience that will be helpful in making decisions, and that certainly includes him, because I think he'll play a very important role in representing our country around the world. But at the end of the day, I know very well, having been there for 8 years, that the weight of decision-making falls on the president. I'm ready to accept that responsibility. I don't believe in government by advisors. I believe we need a president who is a hands-on manager of the government. I think that's what I offer, and that's what I intend to do.